podcast is intended for mature audiences. The views and opinions expressed are those of the panelists and do not reflect in any way those of the podcast partners, sponsors, or affiliates. Enjoy.
Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and you're listening to the Voice of the People. Let's get ready for Boxing Voice.
You know the saying, stay hungry, stay humble.
BoxingVoice.com.
I'm humble in defeat, and I'm going to remain humble in victory. This is it, right?
DiBiase Productions.
I just wanted to put on a great boxing masterclass and also show the sweet science of this lovely sport. Man, the first time was so nice, I had to do it twice.
I'm prepared to the best of my capability, and I pray that I get the win. Look at it, I love Mike Tyson, how he came into the game on some different kind of vibe. You know what I mean, man? It takes a crazy man to want to fight, you know what I mean, day in, day out. It's a hardcore sport, as you said, no silk shoes.
Ain't no other sight in the game to see the Boxing Voice.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of the Boxing Voice Radio. We're here to discuss Vergil Ortiz versus Samuel Vargas. It is back on, officially set for July 24th. Who you got? Once again, Dazn rolling out their schedule. So they did unveil maybe 3 to 4 fight cards in the UK that we were not happy with at all. But they're starting to roll out their US version of what Dazn is going to be giving us, and it's a lot better than what Eddie is giving us out in the UK. So I guess in its totality, you get all Eddie's fights, which aren't that great, but you do get Povetkin and you do get Katie Taylor-Serrano if they can iron it out, and then you get some other Eggington maybe if you felt like wasting your day to watch that, but outside of that, you got the Javier Fortuna Linares, and now Vergil Ortiz versus Vargas back. So that's not bad, because remember, Dazn is not a fight-by-fight thing, and it's a monthly thing. So, you know, you get the Povetkin, and you get the Javier, and you get the Vargas, because this one is happening July 24th. So, you know, you have to decide, is Vergil worth your $8 if you go by the yearly, or your $20 if you go by the monthly. But this is what we're talking about. Vergil Ortiz versus Samuel Vargas, officially set for July 24th. Who you got? Let me go out to my co-host and get this thing started.
What's up, man? Yeah, I just want to say I saw fight too.
Stay focused, stay working my dad.
I saw fight too.
Boxing Voice.
Because if he comes to fight, then I'm going to have to look for him.
I saw fight too.
I think you accurate.
Yes, welcome back to the show. Samuel Vargas. Now, we are talking about Samuel Vargas, Vergil Ortiz, and we're going to make it up to be something huge because we itch for boxing so bad. But I like the matchup. Again, I'm comparing it to what we're seeing on ESPN. And these names being thrown around by Dazn, I'm very satisfied with. Let's chop it up.
I'm the most brutal and vicious and most ruthless champion there's ever been. There's no one can stop me. Legs to the conqueror. No, I'm Alexander. He's no Alexander. I'm the best ever. There's never been anybody. I'm Sonny Liston. I'm Jack Dempsey. There's no one like me. I'm from their claw. There's no one that can match.
Chip. Yeah, this is double time. Up the middle, shovel uppercuts. Samuel Vargas versus Ortiz, man. This is what I'm talking about, man. This is when you got bolas. You know what I'm saying? You taking on the challenges. You ain't afraid. You ready to go. Samuel Vargas, I think, is a good, barometer to see where he's at. You know, he's already finished one other guy in Maurice Herrera. So, you know, I really think I'm going to enjoy this one. But let's get on over to Marioski.
It's me, Mario.
Yo, back at it again. And this was a fight that was already scheduled. We talked about it before. I never thought Broner was a serious I didn't think that was realistic, so I'm not really disappointed that it goes to Samuel Vargas, despite the fact that we've put Vergil Ortiz's name in there with like quite a few people already. But this is a good fight. I think this is perfect opposition for Vergil right now. I know there are a lot of people that think that he's ready to move along or think he should go faster or whatever, but I think this is perfect. Let's chop it up.
Marioski, do you say it wasn't believable because it was just too early for Vergil Ortiz, or because AB was asking for way too much money?
Both. That's a fight that's just not ready. I don't think it was ever a serious contention. But yeah, both for sure. It's not that I wouldn't think that Vergil could beat Broner. Why would you do that now when you know that he's going to be good enough to beat him in another year? You know what I mean? Maybe 6 months. Like, I just think that it would have been early.
Too early.
Too early, yeah.
Yeah, I think instead of using like the airports and the opening borders, the way Dumi was saying for Linares, I think that the reason why it didn't happen is because there's no audience and Broner's asking for a lot of money. This season, right? Let's call it the pandemic season. These fighters like Vergil Ortiz all going to be able to shine. The high-paid fighters like the Joshuas, they're still figuring it out. Like the Broners, they still got to figure it out. Like Manny Pacquiao, that shit is still being figured out. So we got to accept Vergil Ortiz versus Samuel, who was beat and I think stopped by Danny Swift Garcia.
Yeah. He's lost to the top guys,
Amir
man.
Khan, too. You got to give Mario's boy his credit. Amir Khan beat him.
And Amir Khan.
Earl Spence beat him. So this is the guy that, you know, experienced in the ring. He's lost to top guys. And, you know, he's young. He's 31 years old. I mean, he's got 255 rounds. Your man's had more rounds. The guy we just looked into, I forget my man's name, 320.
320 was Jorge Linares.
So look at that, you know. So, you know, yeah, go ahead.
Nonetheless, right, Vergil Ortiz and Samuel Vargas is a good matchup for me. That's another Javier Fortuna, Jorge Linares exciting fight where on ESPN we only got Shakur Stevenson.
Vargas is in a Javier. Linares could be the Vergil in this equation, but Linares, Javier's a little bit more above Vargas. But I get you. I'm with you. I'm excited about this one, too. I want to see how Vergil handles him, you know what I mean? Because he's in a developmental stage. Even though he has a WBA gold title, he's in the developmental stage, and he's allowed to develop.
He's knocked everybody out, man.
And I have not really seen him fight. I know he's knocked everybody he's fought out, 15-0, 15 KOs.
Yeah, I mean, he's got good names so far. Brad Solomon is someone I respect, and Mauricio Herrera. You know, regardless of how he got him, regardless of how he got him, when he got him, you know, again, these are developmental fights. So, he's not supposed to get a Mauricio Herrera in his prime because Mauricio won't be thinking about a Vergil Ortiz in his prime. He's supposed to get him now when, or not now, then when he did get him, when Mauricio was still thinking about fighting but needed to be knocked out to retire. You know what I mean? And Vergil did that. That's what I say. The young has to take out the old. You got to do Joe Smith Jr. to Bernard Hopkins if
That's
you want
how
him
it
to
works,
retire.
Man.
Listen.
Even in the African plains where the lions live, you know what I'm saying? It's always about, the young lion grew up and now he got to take over. This is the same way.
Yeah, listen, Samuel Vargas's name fits in well with the Herreras and the Orozcos and the Solomons, but I still think that you could argue that he'd be tougher, I think, or at least you'd get more credit for him. Antonio Orozco really never got started on the path that many believed he'd be on. Mauricio Herrera, while that could have been like the tougher fight maybe 3-4 years ago, it's definitely not. I mean, it's a war-torn, beat up Herrera. So I think you got Vargas here, and he represents an interesting matchup that is a little more valued to me in a fight fan's eyes than the other wins. But they still fit within that same scheme, the same path. It's all about putting the fighter on the right path, and this is knocking it out one by one. But this is a great fight from Dazn. I think that it's a really good fight to start it off. Yes, I would have liked to see Ryan, but if you think about it, I mean, Vergil Ortiz has accomplished more thus far. I think
in the
just
ring
with those names,
Ryan,
alone, those three names. So,
let's compare that.
And then you got those next two fights. It's going to be good so far.
Well, forget comparing them to Ryan, to Boots Ennis. Like, people like to hype up Boots, and maybe it's right.
Well, I just meant because Ryan was supposed to start off, remember?
I know Ryan was,
okay.
And I know that Oscar also said we're going with the future. So, they switched their attention from Ryan to,
good point.
to Ortiz as the guy to take over the show. But this may not be a title shot for Vergil, and it may not be the fight that you want for Vergil, but when compared to other welterweights on the come up, he's got more names on his resume.
Mm-hmm.
And how do we compare, like, Ryan Garcia? Let's get into that whole comparison and the turn up now for Vergil Ortiz from De La Hoya side now, and him being the future or whatnot. Like, Ryan Garcia was supposed to face Jorge Linares next, right?
July 4th.
That's what they wanted for him. So here comes Vergil Ortiz and steps up and is facing a Samuel Vargas. Where do we put Samuel Vargas in comparison to Jorge Linares? I mean, we already know the titles and stuff like that, so that'll pretty much trump it on paper. But like as a fight, as a tough fight, as a young guy stepping up in Vergil and
Vergil being tough. Like, what's the question? Vergil.
So the question is, what's a tougher fight?
The Samuel Vargas Vergil or the Fortuna Linares?
No,
I would say Linares for Ryan Garcia would be the tougher fight.
Ryan Garcia,
for sure.
Hell yeah. I mean, that was easy. Samuel Vargas has never been a champ.
All right, so
but I think. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, so where do we categorize this fight? Is this a good fight? Is this really a good step up?
It's a decent fight. It's a decent fight.
Right.
It's not. It's
decent
not
step up.
It's not it's a decent step up. It's not a side step. He's moving. Like, again, this guy only got beat by Amir Khan, Danny Garcia, and Earl Spence. It's not bad.
Right. The best.
It's not
Yeah,
bad.
listen. If you build in a resume, right, think about it as steps, right? Like a carpenter building steps. Samuel Vargas's name is that next step. You know what I mean? He's not jumping up 2 steps. He's not taking 3 steps with 1 leap. He's not walking back downstairs. He's not staying on that same step. It's a step. It's
elevating.
He's
elevating.
It's elevated, but it's within the spectrum. It's not this huge elevation,
But I would say this. Unlike the Fortuna Linares fight, I could easily pick Vergil Ortiz on this one.
Wait, unlike the Linares, Ryan. Good call. Yeah.
I can't really pick, but I'm like, damn, this is more. He's more technical. He's wild. They're both, where Vergil Ortiz, I'm like, I think he's going to score another knockout.
Well, I have an easier time picking Ortiz still, even if I put Ryan Garcia in there. Instead of Linares Fortuna saying, who would I pick between Garcia, Linares, or Garcia Fortuna? I still pick Vergil easier in those fights. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm still not sold on who I'd pick between those guys and Ryan Garcia. Not for sure. And certainly not against each other. It's a tough fight. I mean, I said Linares, but I admit it's close to a 50-50 fight.
You mean the Vergil?
No, I mean the Linares Fortuna. Vergil Ortiz Vargas.
It's a tighter, more competitive fight versus
exactly.
Vergil. But this still introduces Vergil, to another level. I think. I don't know Brad Salomon, but I do know, and not much. I can't boast about Vargas, but he's been in there with the best, right? So that's what he brings to. That's what he offers the fans versus Vergil Ortiz, in my opinion. I want to see it, but I'm easily picking Vergil Ortiz.
Yeah, it's no doubt Vergil Ortiz is the favorite. And I guess that's what I was just trying to get from you guys, is just a feel of how much of a jump it was. And it's a decent jump, stay busy fight, whatever you want to call it. But it seems as though that the chips are being put on Vergil now, man.
Opposed to Ryan Garcia, you mean?
Yeah. I mean, you really think about it, like how much can you sit on the sideline? Ness mentioned it last show. That's the worst thing you could do to a fighter is just shelve him. I mean, he's making those checks, but the longer he stays on the sideline, is just, I mean, ring rust is real.
Call do me not see any of the signs. Looks like we got our first guest, Robert Garcia, world-renowned trainer of exactly who we're speaking of. We're talking Vergil Ortiz, so now we're going to be talking to his trainer. Robert, man, thank you first and foremost for being up early out there in the West Coast. How are you?
I'm doing good, Nestor. Thanks for having me, bro.
Thank you, obviously, for giving us the opportunity. Well, we were just talking about your star fighter, or one of them, because you have so many in that stable, Vergil Ortiz, and his fight being official now on Dazn, July 24th, versus Samuel Vargas, a guy that's been in there and only been beaten by the top, Amir Khan, Earl Spence, and Danny Garcia. So we were saying that this is the perfect fight for Ortiz, and it's a step in the right direction. What are you thinking in terms of the matchmaking for this fight, and how are you liking it?
Well, look, I think it's perfect. We were already scheduled to fight him last March, but, the fight got canceled due to the COVID-19. But look, it's great that we're able to get the same fight again, and now we have a date, and Vergil's been training for a little over a month already, and here in Riverside, when he's back home, he's always in the gym anyways. But here in Riverside, it's been over about a month and a half, so he'll be in great shape. I think it's a great opportunity. Especially when Vargas, his losses, like you just mentioned, to great fighters like Errol Spence and Amir Khan, and I believe it was Danny Garcia. I think it's a great opportunity for Vergil to show what he's able to do with somebody that's been in there with the best.
Yeah. Hey, Robert, it's Mario Munguia here. Listen, I agree with you. I love this fight. I think it's perfect in terms of steps. Like, if you look at who Vergil's been in there with, this makes sense. It's a step, but it's not way too big, you know what I mean? But it's not too small either. That said, though, there was a lot of talk about Adrian Broner, and Vergil's name was getting mentioned with a lot of guys, higher up. I'm glad that those fights are, not coming yet, but would he be ready, like, right away? I mean, how many more fights until you see him in the ring with an Adrian Broner, or you think that could happen now?
Well, look, I honestly think that could happen now. We have Vergil in the gym, and look what he has done in his fights. People see a few rounds. Most of the fights don't go past 5 or 6 rounds. So a lot of boxing people are still questioning. We'll see when he goes in there against an Adrian Broner or Danny Garcia or that type of fighter, but we have him in the gym, and we know what he does in the gym. So I have no doubt that he's ready. He's ready for the Adrian Broner type of fighters, Danny Garcia type of fighters. I think he's ready, and could beat them without a problem.
Hey, how you doing, Robert Garcia? It's Alex here with you, man. Thanks for coming on. I know it's 3 hours behind over there on the West Coast. I'm really excited for Vergil Ortiz. He's a heck of a pressure fighter, 15 KOs, and just for in a coach's perspective, you got him in the gym. He's in shape, but under the lights he hasn't gone past the 6 rounds. How do you get to work those other aspects of his game out, and how ready he would be for a 12-round fight?
Look, in the fights, yeah, he's never gone past 6, So that's what I'm saying. A lot of boxing people, a lot of boxing experts could question. Well, he's never been past 6. It's always been, the right opponents. He's been knocking everybody out. So a lot of people still have that question. But like I told you guys earlier, we have him in the gym. His dad is always on top of him, making sure he's not lacking anything. He's always, his food, his diet, his running, conditioning, everything is on point. He's ready to go 12 rounds anytime if he has to. I think sparring the guys, guys like Josito Lopez, Mikey. He sparred Brandon before. Jose Ramirez in the gym are are just a few that that I could mention, with big names. But he's able to do. He's able to do 12, 14 rounds at a time with different guys, because it's hard for him to do all 12 with just one sparring partner. We have to switch it around, 3, 4 rounds each and bring in the next one because he's just something special.
Robert, can I ask you, do you think, in your opinion, that Vergil Ortiz is further along than a Jerron Boots Ennis? And do you know who Jerron Boots Ennis is? Is that a potential fight that you see happening?
Look, I had heard about this kid a lot, and I had never seen him fight because, if I'm not mistaken, his fights haven't really been televised that often. So I hadn't even seen him, but once I started hearing a lot about Ennis, about him and Vergil, and a lot of people mentioning that fight, I went online and looked up one of his fights, and I watched a few rounds. Kid is skillful. The kid is talented, but no way in Vergil's level. I honestly, not because Vergil's my fighter, not because he's our fighter, but I just see a big difference. I think it's Ennis is a great fighter that they're talking a lot about him. So I think it's a future fight where 2, 3 years from now they both can make a lot of money. But right now at this point, I don't think he would be able to hang in there for 12 rounds with Vergil.
Hey, Robert, Enrique Church here, casual fan on the show. But I do know who Vergil Ortiz is. I was on Podcast Road during the Kovalev-Canelo fight and got to interview him. So now, I hear you mentioning going 12 rounds because everybody's questioning 12 rounds. But don't you want to make a statement against Samuel Vargas because Amir Khan went to UD? Don't you want to just stop him early and that's a bigger statement than going 12 rounds?
But look, the kid is ready to go 12 rounds in any of his fights. It's not like we only train for 5 or 6 because that's all the fights I've done. No, the kid is ready to go 12 rounds. But of course, if Vergil could take him out in 3, 4 rounds, then that's what he's gonna do. He's a killer in the ring, and he's not gonna take round by round just to fill out his opponents. You guys already know Vergil. He's a type of fighter that once the bell rings, he goes for the kill. If he sees an opening, he'll jump on it and finish his opponents. And the same thing with Vargas. If round 1 goes by and we see a good opening, the kid's gonna see it also. Then he's gonna jump on it and go for the knockout.
Oh yes, Robert. Let me ask you about Hector Tanajara because we had a show before this show this morning, and we were talking about the fact that Fortuna and Linares, 2 guys who were also offered the Ryan fight, but Ryan didn't take it. Whether that makes him a duck because they're fighting each other. We heard from Hector, and he said that he had agreed to fight Ryan. And that's just another name on the list with Mercito Gesta. I mean, the list has gotten really big now of guys that Ryan just didn't want to fight. I know that you don't know the ins and outs of Ryan's contract. I know that you can't tell us for sure why he didn't take the Hector fight. But can you just talk us through what you think is going on there, why you think that maybe that Hector fight didn't take place? Because I thought that was a pretty good fight considering the circumstances of where we're at. Just talk us through that.
Well, look, on our part, since Ryan's February 14th fight, I believe it was February 14th, they offered me the fight, and I agreed to it. I said yes, but obviously didn't happen. Then for the July 4th, Ryan's fight back after the COVID situation. Again, I was offered the fight. We even came to a point where we had already agreed on the purse, and we had already negotiated the purse, and everything was already set to go. But again, it didn't happen. I don't want to say it's because Ryan doesn't want to fight Hector. One thing Ryan anytime, but look, there is a lot of things going on, with Ryan and his management team. they feel that the kid deserves more money, and I don't blame them either. In boxing, it's a crazy sport where if you let them, uh, cut you short on your purses, they will forever. But I also understand that right now at this situation with the fights, with not having fans and all the other things going on. And man, a lot of fighters are taking a stay busy fights. Shakur Stevens took a stay busy fight. All this world, there's two Mexican champions that just fought in the last 2 weeks. Navarrete, Vergil, they took stay busy fights, and I'm sure they got paid a lot less than what they make when they defend their titles. So I think with the situation going on, I think it would have been smart for Ryan to take a fight. Maybe it didn't have to be against a Hector Tanajara or a Linares or anything like that, but maybe something lighter just to get his name back out there. He has a lot of fans, so they would tune in and watch him fight. But if the money wasn't right, then I don't blame him either. He's got a situation where he's worth a lot, and he wants to get paid what he deserves. So I can't blame him either. He's got a great management team, and they're doing their job. But me personally, I would have advised him to take a fight, maybe against a different opponent. But just like Shakur did, like the champions that I just mentioned earlier.
Robert, can I get your opinion on Javier Fortuna versus Jorge Linares? Because for whatever reason, you don't really have to talk about Garcia Linares, but I thought Garcia would beat Linares, and I thought he would do it easily, but I've been wrong, especially to you before, right? But can you help me, I guess, pick a winner in Linares Fortuna?
Look, I think it's going to be a difficult fight because both are not, none of them are brawlers where it's going to be a war in the ring. I think it's going to be a difficult fight for both because they're both smart. They're both Fortuna is going to be the smaller guy, shorter guy in the ring, so that might make it a little difficult for Linares. I still feel like Linares is going to pull off a decision, but it'll be interesting to watch. It's going to be one of those fights where we see kind of like a chess match. See who makes the first mistake. Fortuna is pretty smart of a fighter too. Fortuna fights smart, and when he has to, he'll pressure if he has to. So it's going to be an interesting fight. I still pick Linares by decision.
Hurt my feelings. I was hoping Fortuna could do it. We needed him to get that.
Well, look, I'm not saying he can.
Nah,
I'm not saying he can. He's pulled off a few wins that has surprised the boxing world. So anything's possible.
So Robert, I mean, you're not Vergil's manager, right? Because I know you do manage some fighters.
Yes, I manage a lot of most of my fighters, but I don't have contracts with them. So same thing with Vergil. I'm with the dad always on the phone, and here in camp we're always talking about the purses, and the dad tells me what he feels is right. I go to Golden Boy, so we do the management, but nothing's under paper. We don't have any contract with Vergil, and none of my fighters. I don't have any of my fighters under contract, but I do manage most of them.
Perfect. Because I just wanted to see, could we get clarity on what you would advise Vergil to do? Obviously, Danny Garcia's in line at the number 1 under the WBO, but Terrence took out the perceived mandatory before the mandatory could be called in Kavalaskis. So there is no mandatory in the WBO. And Danny is at number 1, Garcia, and Vergil number 2. But Danny is being offered a unification fight with Earl Spence sometime in September if everything goes right, which would leave that number 1 spot vacant, Vergil at number 2 with no mandatory. Is Vergil ready if somehow it got called to be an eliminator or somehow they offered you guys? I mean, Crawford doesn't have opponents. Is he ready, or would you like a few fights? Because we've seen Reynoso say, he wanted 2 fights before any big name for Ryan.
Look, right now with all the politics in boxing, honestly, we don't really get too excited about the number one rankings and none of that because, politics are stronger than the rankings right now. We've seen so many fights not happen because of the politics in boxing with the promoters, the managers not working with each other. So it's not something that we're really pushing for. But look, with Vergil, he's just 22 years old. He's just a kid. We don't want to make the mistake that that others have made. Pushing their fighters too soon against the top big names in boxing. I'm not saying he's not ready. I think he could compete against any top welterweight. But doing that means that from there on, every fight has to be as good or even better or even tougher, and that's maybe pushing it a little bit too soon. The kid's too young. We want him to be a great fighter, a legend. For at least another 10, 15 years. He's got a bright future. So there's no need to bring him in against a Crawford or a Spence. At this point, even though I'm telling you, he will compete against any of those guys, and he's got the strength, the courage, the heart, the condition to beat them. I don't think it's the right thing to push him that fast because at that level, then he would have to stay at that level and fighting at that level. Maybe those type of fights would probably have his career shortened a little bit instead of going like I'm thinking 10, 15 more years.
Robert, it's Alex again. Just wanted to mention, with this C19, everything's been turned upside down, including our sport. And, you being the coach and being a major player in the sport and, getting to see how things are being taken as far as precautions towards avoiding any fights being canceled last minute. As we know, we had Pedraza versus Les Pierre that got canceled last minute just a little while ago. So can you give us an insight on what precautions, and how Golden Boy Promotions is handling the pandemic in order to ensure that, the fighters make it to the ring and there's no upsets like this, like the Pedraza Les Pierre cancellation?
Well, look, right now, it's I tell everybody in my gym, it's not like we're gonna die, from COVID-19. We're not afraid of that, but we do have to be very careful because if one of my fighters, one of my assistant coaches is to test positive, then the whole club, the whole gym is gonna be in trouble. All my fighters will be in trouble, and if you guys see, my gym is the one getting a lot of fights, a lot of dates, either with Top Rank, now with Golden Boy, Golden Boy's first show back, and I have 3 of my fighters fighting on that first card. So we do have to be very careful. I do tell all my assistants to be very, very careful with who they hang out with, where they go. All my fighters live in the same training camp, so they're good there. But if one of them, decides to go out on a weekend to a bar or something, then that's what I'm not allowing, because we do have to be very careful. The promoters are taking, very, 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 being very careful when it comes to all this, and I agree with them. They have to take whatever precautions necessary to have the fighters fight safe and go back home safe. I think they're doing the right thing. I'm doing the same thing in my gym. Everybody gets tested. All my fighters are tested. My coaches get tested. We use masks in the gym. We try to maintain the distance, and only the fighters that have dates to fight are the ones training. I'm not open just for anybody to come in. So it's difficult, but I think it's the only way we could do this. And in order for my fighters to keep fighting and keep getting dates, that's why I have to keep it. That's why Top Rank calls me. Who do you have for so and so date? Do you have this kid ready? Yes, I do. Let's go. Bring them in, because they know how I'm doing. They know how I'm running my gym. I'm not one of those gyms that's just let anybody in. Right now, everything's shut down. so is my gym. It's only private for the ones that are fighting. So that's how I keep it. And Golden Boy is doing the same thing, coming back to their first show with 3 of my fighters. Why? Because they see my gym. You know, they came over to my gym and they seen that, you know, I'm very, very careful with everything going on.
Robert, Enrique again. I saw you every week on the ESPN cards, both days, Tuesday and Thursdays. Are you driving to Vegas or you staying there?
No, we're driving to Vegas. We're driving back and forth. You know, that we're only 3 hours away from Vegas. So what I'm doing is I'm sending my fighters. I got next Tuesday again. I have 3 fighters next Tuesday. So I send them all. You know, it's just the fighter plus 1, anyways. So the fighter So what they're doing right now is that they're driving to Vegas with one of my assistants, either my son or the other Chepe, whoever. They drive to Vegas. They stay there the night before, and I show up the night before the fight just to get tested, go into my room, and then next day my results are negative, and I'm ready to get in the fight. So we, you know, we I'm telling you, we just taking all, you know, every step the right way to make sure we all stay safe.
So, Robert, I wanted to get real quick. Let me just ask him his opinion on Andy Ruiz, who just recently came back into camp. I just want to know what you think, because to me it seems a little odd, I guess. You know, he started training in Vegas with Javier Cabatillo, but he's getting ready supposedly then to transition to start training with his new head trainer in Reynoso. I just want your take on that. And what do you think? Do you think it was smart that they signed a 1-year training deal with Reynoso, or you think they should take it fight by fight basis like that with Ruiz?
Well, look, I know there's been trainers before that wanted a contract, you know, so they could be guaranteed. But the way I see it is, you know, there's no way you could force a fighter to train with you if he's not happy. That's just the way I see it. You know, honestly, I've been in this for many years already, and I've learned that when a fighter's not happy and the fighter doesn't want to be with you, why are you gonna force them to be with you? I think you treat your fighters right, you do your job the way it's supposed to be, they'll stay. You don't need a contract to force them to be with you. If they're happy and they like your work, they'll stay with you. You know, I just told you guys earlier, I don't have a contract with none of my fighters, and they're all happy. They all enjoy training with us. They all like the way I manage their contract, negotiate the purses. So that's one thing that I don't really like to do. You know, keep them under contract. I know there's trainers that do. You know, I think Eddie's going to do a great job with Andy. I think he will. I think they have a good future together. But I don't think a contract's necessary.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ness.
Man, I forgot mine. We're going to go to these Patreon questions, though, Rob. Before we let you go, we got the first one coming from Ruin 504 in New Orleans. He says, was there anything that you saw in Andrew Maloney that let you know Franco would beat him?
The first, all it took was the first 2 rounds. You know, Franco was in there just measuring him out, feeling out his power, feeling everything out. You know, as you guys seen the first 2 rounds, Franco was pretty much just blocking and figuring him out. After the second round, you know, in the corner, myself and my son, we talked to each other during the round, and we agreed that that's all Maloney was going to do. He couldn't do anything different. You know, he already showed us his power. It didn't affect Franco at all. He already showed us all his combinations. You know, he was throwing a lot of punches the first rounds, but that's how he was doing. So we figured him out in 2 rounds. We told Franco, look, let's start putting pressure. Let's back him up. You're the stronger man. You're much stronger. Let's start backing him up, and started doing that. Broke him down little by little.
All right, that was the question from Ruin of 504. Carlitos 84 says, "What's good, Mr. Garcia? Big fan of you and your stable of fighters. Matchroom yesterday announced their first U.S. card post-COVID. So I want to ask, who is Mikey fighting next? You must know. If you can't, give us a couple of names of who it could be."
I wish I knew. Honestly, I wish I knew. There's nothing lined up for Mikey. We wish we knew. After his last fight, there was so much talk about him fighting Manny Pacquiao, and they were already talking about sometime in July. But obviously, that is not going to happen. If Mikey does fight, it's gonna have to be maybe towards the end of the year. Hopefully it still is against Pacquiao. We really don't know. There hasn't been no talk at all. So as of right now, there's no talk. There's no mention of anything, any possibilities at all. There just hasn't been no talk.
All right. That's George Foster says, just how dangerous do you think Manny Pac could potentially be for Mikey?
Look, Pacquiao has been very dangerous for anybody. He's dangerous for anybody that he steps in the ring against. He just proved it in his last fight against Keith Thurman. He went out there. Keith Thurman was the younger, the stronger guy, and Pacquiao beat him. He dropped him and beat him by decision. So Pacquiao's a very, very dangerous man for any welterweight in boxing right now.
Quick side note on that. Did you expect that knockdown from Pacquiao in that Keith Thurman bout? Was that something expected?
Never did. But that we never expected that. But look, that just showed how well prepared and how good and strong Pacquiao is. He's at 42 still able to do stuff like this against young fighters. It's unbelievable. His career is just one of those that is one in a lifetime. We don't get to see that often, and we're glad to be part of it. And hopefully one day going there against him, it would just be an honor just to say that we shared the ring with my brother Mikey against Pacquiao.
Okay, David Maldonado says, "What's up, Robert? Being that you and your dad are legendary trainers and been involved in some big fights, especially the Puerto Rico versus Mexico rivalry with fights like Trinidad versus Vargas, Cotto versus Margarito, and Juan Ma versus Mikey. With that being said, how do you think Felix Tito Trinidad, who is the most successful Puerto Rican fighter when it comes to Mexico versus Puerto Rico matchups, would do against Antonio Margarito and another tough Mexican in Jose Luis Lopez? Please break these fights down with your expertise. Personally, I think Tito stops any welterweight that comes forward, so Mexican style don't work against my boy Tito. But go ahead, let's hear your breakdown."
Look, I could agree with this guy. Tito just was so strong, had that left hook so powerful that it would definitely hurt anybody. And we were part of it against Fernando Vargas, and my dad clearly told Fernando Vargas, "You're not going to be able to stand in front of this guy. This guy is so strong, he'll hurt you." But it was after Astro De La Hoya had fought Trinidad, and Astro De La Hoya boxed the last few rounds, and a lot of people criticized him. He was criticized a lot for boxing, and everybody said running, but and so that's why Fernando wanted to do the opposite. Fernando said, "No, I'm not going to box. I'm gonna exchange punches with him, and I'm gonna knock him out." And I think that was a big mistake. My dad clearly told me, "Look, this guy's too strong and has the killer left hook, so we got to stay on the outside and box around him." But those are learning experiences. I think Tito could beat anybody that stands in front of him. The names that you mentioned, I think he would have beat them, especially when they stand in front of him. They definitely going in there to risk a lot. From those left hooks that Tito throws.
All right. Ryan O'Rourke says, "Why do you think Canelo offered Billy Joe multiple offers, but not the same for Calum Smith? Supposedly, Canelo wants to be the best in all divisions, but Calum is ranked number 1. I believe Canelo never wanted that fight, as Calum is too big for him and will soon go up in weight once he beats another of the big names in the division."
Look, honestly, that I have no idea. With all the Canelo negotiations, I just, I'm a big fan of Canelo, and I think he's the best pound for pound fighter at this moment and best middleweight. But when it comes to the negotiations or who he's gonna fight, I don't even follow all that information. I really don't care. I just want to see him fight. Whoever he fights, I think he's gonna do great and gonna continue to do good for all the Mexican fans.
Now, Robert, you put him in your pound for pound, but you didn't give a number. Do you have him ranked above Vergil and Crawford?
I think he's number one. For what he's done. I think his skills are great too. I like to name pound for pound. I like to go on skills, not who they've beat. And I think he has great defense. He's got great offense. I think he's great. I love Lomachenko's style. I love the way Lomachenko fights. He's different, something that we haven't seen in a while. And maybe Lomachenko hasn't had the chance to fight those big names like Canelo has. That's probably why a lot of people might not mention Loma over Canelo. But look, depending on who you ask, me personally, I think Canelo because he's 4th division champion. He moved up to light heavyweight. He's accomplished a lot, and but his skills are great. I think he's improved so much. I think in the last 5 years he's gotten so much better from early in his career. He's got great defense, great power, great chin. I think all that has to be included when we talk about pound for pound, and that's why I think Canelo is number one.
All right. The next one's coming from Victor Banuelos. Says, tacos de pastor versus un cóctel de camarón y pulpo. Who wins and why, champ?
I'd rather get that cóctel de camarón and pulpo. Seafood is very popular here in Southern California, and we all love it. So, tacos are great, but al pastor is one of my least flavor that I'd rather get other stuff before pastor.
All right. As Steve says, thank you for coming on the show. Do you see any big fights happening without gate revenue during these current times of COVID? And why aren't we seeing pay-per-view like UFC is doing?
It is a question that I have asked myself. Pay-per-view would probably be what the promoters should be thinking of right now because they want to do big fights. Pay-per-view numbers do generate a lot of big purses, but all these pay-per-view fighters, and it's very few. We can't. I know there's not a lot of fighters that could generate big numbers on pay-per-view. They want too much money. That's the thing. All these fighters that are already have been on pay-per-view or have done okay numbers on pay-per-view. They demand huge purses, and even if the pay-per-view does really good, it's still, I don't think it generates enough to please the fighters, both fighters. Then obviously they have to. There's a lot of expenses too. I think the fighters, to be able to generate those kind of purses, they also need a gate. Gates also produce a lot of money. Some gates, they go up there in the numbers. $10-12 million gates. 8, 10, 12, and that generates a lot of money for the purses. So it's hard right now. I think fighters should be able to negotiate and take maybe shorter purses, but I don't blame them either. When they're used to getting so much and out of a sudden they have to get less, well, that's their decision. I can't decide for them, but it is going to be hard. It is going to be hard because the fighters, the promoters do need a gate to generate a little bit more.
All right. Brandon Morey says, do you train Esquiva Falco? If so, when can we expect him in a big fight?
Look, Esquiva Falco is back home right now. There's no fight for him right now, so he's still in Brazil. He doesn't have anything lined up. With all this going on, I don't know about any big fight. The one that they were talking about for him was against Murata. But as of now, there hasn't been any talk. Top Rank hasn't told me anything about him even getting back in the ring just on a regular 10-round fight. So big fights right now, nothing lined up. It's a difficult situation right now, and with Murata being so big in Japan, and maybe the fight being in Japan with no fans, it's also going to be very hard for any promoter to even try to bring him back in the ring in this situation.
All right. It says
Robert,
Ness is going to interject. Go ahead,
I'm
Ness.
definitely going to interject, especially, with you saying any promoter bring him back into the sport. It just struck a bell in my head. Big Baby Miller, what is your reaction?
Well, look, man, what can I say? Fuck, it's difficult, man. It's difficult, man. I guess, I don't know. You have a lot of fighters. Sometimes, you have a situation with fighters where they have a bad habit. Maybe a drinking problem or something, and you catch them and you get them in trouble and you cancel their fight. But then next training camp, everything's going well, and then out of a sudden you go into his room and you see bottles of beer there. So when they have a problem, they have a problem. What can I say? I'm not one to criticize anybody. Honestly, I really don't know what the problem is with him. I rather not even get involved. I've met him before. He's a cool dude, but that's about it. I really don't know. It sucks. It sucks because he's got so many. He's been talked about so many times about so many big fights, and fuck, for him to end his career like this is gonna be sad.
Wow, you chose the words "end his career." I mean, you haven't built a relationship, but let's say, hypothetically, he comes to you groveling and he's like, Robert, man, help me. I've lost $15 million damn near on this addiction that I have. Let me live in the boxing academy, watch over me, get me back in the mix, manage me. Would you take the risk on a guy like that?
Well, look, that's one thing that I've always liked, and those are challenges. Like I've done it before with fighters that are already looking into retiring, and then why bring them back, and we end up winning a title, stuff like that. Those are the great stories, But I don't know about this one. This is a tough one, man. This is a very, very tough one. Like I said, he's a cool dude, man. I met him a few times, and he's funny. He's cool to be around. But look, it would be a really, really tough one, a really tough decision. It would have to be not just me. It would have to be my whole team that makes that decision and see what we can do with him. But it would be hard.
Now we've interviewed you before, and you said you prefer not to train heavyweights because they don't train as hard as your lower weight classes. But with Big Baby in particular, I mean, you have to assume that if you can get this guy on track for a 3-fight deal, that one of those fights would be Tyson Fury or Wilder or AJ at the end. Isn't the money significantly better for you when you're dealing with a heavyweight that's going to be receiving those, tens of millions of dollars in those types of fights?
Well, look, there's a lot of trainers that I know here in California that don't train anybody that's less than 147 pounds, and that's because of the money. There's no money in the lower weight classes. But look, I just made a world champion at 115 that is never gonna make a lot of money, but for me, those are the good feelings right there. When you bring a kid from the amateurs into the pros, and no matter what the weight division is, Franco just became champion at 115, and me and my son, it's probably one of the greatest moments we've had as a trainers, because that's a kid we brought in from the amateurs into the pros and signed him with Golden Boy, and had a hard time actually signing him because because of his weight division, and those are the best. We like those moments better than thinking, oh, this guy, heavyweight's gonna make me millions and millions of dollars. But look, it's also a very, very difficult situation to handle, and sometimes I rather just be happy with what I have than try to chase something that might never even happen. We could be in training camp for 3 months, and then the day, a few days before the fight, he's going to be positive again, and everything gets canceled. So, I rather not have those headaches and deal with my 115 pounders, my 108 pounders that are happy to be in my gym, that are going to enjoy every moment of it. That's what matters to me more.
Well said, man. Well said.
All right. The next one comes from B Low. Says, thanks for taking the time and coming on TBV as you always do. We really appreciate it. Who are some names that are in your stable that we should look out for in the years to come? Keep up the great work, G.
Look, obviously everybody knows, Vergil Ortiz is already, we don't have to mention him as a prospect anymore. He's up there with the top welterweights. I have Franco just became champion, so he's already a champion, but his little brother, Jesse Rodriguez, he's a 108 pounder, we call him Bam. You got to keep an eye on this kid. This kid could really fight, and I think this kid could easily be a 3 or 4 division champion. He's ranked number 3 in the world right now, and we'll get a title shot soon. Jesse Rodriguez, he's Franco's brother. They have a different last name, but it's they have the same dad and mother. It was just one took the mother's last name and the other one took the father's. But Bam is very talented. 108 pounder. That's one to keep an eye on. We have the Tanaharas who's also up there. Already ready to fight against the big name, and as soon as his next fight already, against Mercito Gesta. So we have some good prospects. Murataya brothers, they're very, very talented. Both of them are fighting on the top rank.
So was that announced already, or do you just break that? Because I thought Hesta and Tanahara were potentials for Ryan. Are they deciding to fight each other?
No, it's already a done deal. We're gonna fight each other.
Okay.
July 14th.
July 14th. Where's that going to take place?
20 on Vergil's card. July 24th.
Got you. I'm sorry. I just said July 14th. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they're the co-main event. Tanahara versus Gesta.
Yeah,
co-main event.
It's not announced yet. Thank you.
I guess I just fucked it up for Golden Boy.
Nah, you made it good.
Not at all.
Good.
Nah, we good.
Yeah, I definitely
Friend of
don't
ours.
see
No.
that. I definitely see that.
Nah, they're good. Nah, we're good. They won't. I know they won't be upset. It's July 24th. Tanahara versus Gesta. So look, I have like I told you guys, the two Murataya brothers who are fighting on ESPN with Top Rank. Those are two very talented kids too. So I have a stable full of young kids that are very talented. And like I told you guys, for me that's the most important thing. The guys that we turn pro, the guys that are even if they're 115 pounders, 118 pounders, and we're never gonna see the $1 million paydays. Those are the the ones that you get more pleased when they're winning and they become champions. I know, like I told you guys a few minutes ago, there's trainers that won't train anybody less than 147 because they don't get paid a lot of money, and all they look for is the big paydays. But my training camp is more about family and bringing kids from the amateurs to a good contract with the top promoter, and eventually getting a world title opportunity. Not all of them are going to be champions, but we do whatever it takes, and we prepare them to become champions. And if one of them doesn't, well then it's not because we didn't do a good job. It's just because he was just not meant to be a world champion. That's just the way boxing is. But we do love what we do and enjoy the moment.
All right, the next one is coming from Big Casual. Says, if Wilder were to win the third fight, do you think the fourth fight can be the biggest fight in heavyweight history? Can't remember heavyweights of this caliber fighting 4 times. #2-time.
Look, I think it would be huge. It already became very huge. The last fight they had, and if Wilder was to win the following fight, man, I just don't see anything closer to that. I remember in the '90s, where the Tyson, the Holyfield fight, they were huge. They were just huge. But I'm glad heavyweight boxing came back. We hadn't seen that in at least 20 years. So now that we have heavyweight boxing back and the whole world is watching again, it just helps not only the heavyweights but the whole boxing world. Everybody gets a little more interest in boxing, and it helps out for all the younger, the smaller weight divisions also, because when the heavyweights are being watched all over the world, well, it also brings a lot of attention to the smaller divisions. So I'm glad heavyweight boxing is back and doing so good.
Okay, the next one is Mr. Ardor says, who would you want next for Franco?
Well, look, we signed a rematch clause. I really don't know if Top Rank and Maloney's are going to want it, our first fight back, but we're ready to, for it. It was, as the way the judges had it, two judges had it 6 rounds to 6, so they had it pretty close. So I don't know if Maloney's gonna want the immediate rematch. We're ready to give it to him if that's what it is, because we do have a rematch clause in the contract. So right now, that's all we have to wait and see if they're gonna follow up on the rematch. We're ready to do it, and if not, we've already talked to some of the people. Maybe a unification fight against Ancajas is a possibility. There's a lot of options. Chocolatito already came out, saying that he wouldn't mind doing a fight against Franco. So it's there's a lot of big fights out there for Franco. I think his win was solid. Everybody, we got so many calls from everybody. A lot of people are talking about it, about his win. So he became overnight star and up there for all the big fights. Hopefully he could get all those fights. But as of right now, if Maloney wants the immediate rematch, we have to give it to him because it's under contract.
All right. Next one's coming from Trey. Says, if Mikey don't get Pac-Man, is Ugas on the table for y'all since WBA regular is about to be vacated?
Well, look, I think those are all possibilities. We've talked about it with my son and my dad and everybody, that we would prefer Mikey to fight at 140, but Mikey also has a point, where he doesn't want to fight at 140, and that's because we have Jose Ramirez at 140 who has 2 titles and really wants to fight Taylor, who has the other 2, and Mikey coming to 140. There's nothing really big for him that means much because all the titles are going to be taken, and Mikey doesn't want to go and interfere Jose Ramirez's plans of fighting for all 4 titles, and I don't blame him either. So if Ugas is there for a fight, a big fight, a title fight, then I'm sure Mikey's up for it. Why not?
What about Devin Haney at 35? I mean, they took a picture. Mikey said that when he took the picture with Haney, he didn't know Haney was going to post what he posted. Is that a fight that you would consider? Or is that too low for Mikey to go down? It's been too long.
Look, I think those are fights that are maybe not at this point, but I think those are all future fights. And look, maybe not at 35, but Haney will eventually move up to 140. I know that he will move up to 140, and that'll make he'll be a bigger name, bigger star in the next couple of years. I think those are all possible fights. We've told Mikey a few times before. Also, look, even though you don't want to interfere with Jose Ramirez's plans to become undisputed champion at 140, but at 140, all these guys are going to move up to 140. 135 right now is stacked with talent. They have so many young, talented fighters, but eventually they're all going to go to 140. So you could compete at 140 and wait for all those guys to move up. But as of right now, I don't think 135 would even be an option for Mikey anymore.
I mean, yeah, I would love to see the Teofimos, Gervonta Davises, even Ryan Garcia's at 140 versus Mikey. That
Ryan
sounds
Garcia,
good.
oh yeah, I think they are going to go to 140 in the future, and those are all big future fights for Mikey also.
Okay, the next one's coming over from Boston. Jared says, who would you pick in fights at 160 between Andrade versus Canelo or Andrade versus Charlo, and why?
Look, I like them all. You know, I think those guys could fight, but I still pick Canelo over them. I think Canelo is the better fighter. More, you know, he's just completely better than everybody at 160. You know, I like Andrade. You know, he's a great fighter. My little son, you know, that's one of his favorite fighters. But you know, they you know, I don't think they're better than Canelo. I think Canelo's better than them.
Okay, Mark Blake says, thank you for coming on the show. Mikey said several times before the Earl fight, I see something. What did he see?
Man, I really don't know. You know, he said he's seen something, but never told us what he's seen. Look, it was just one of those fights where you know, Errol was just the better man that night. He didn't, you know, he had an answer to everything Mikey tried. You know, we tried switching the fight a few times during the fight. You know, okay, well, let's try to pressure him this round. But he had a great game plan. He had a great answer to everything Mikey tried inside the ring. It was just not Mike. It wasn't Mikey's night. You know, there's been fights like that where there's nothing you could do, and the guy is just better than you, and at everything. You know, everything you try, he was better, and you know, nothing to be ashamed of. Mikey, you know, also could tell you the same thing. He was just the better man that night. There's nothing we could do. We don't complain about it. It was a great event. It was a huge event in Dallas. I think just being part of it, and the numbers on pay-per-view were great. You know, so I think it was just one of those events where it was great, but the results weren't what we expected, and Errol had an answer to everything we tried. You know, we have to give him credit for what he did.
Do you think Thurman will ever be the same, and is that an option for Mikey?
That's also an option. You know, I you know, those are big names right there for Mikey, and I think Thurman is a great fighter, but I think he probably fit good for Mikey's style. It would be a great fight. You know, he's very strong, but I think that'll probably be a good fight for Mikey. I like that one better than Nuga's fight.
You know, I just remembered. I wanted to interrupt early when you were talking about Canelo. And obviously there's a bit of fans out there. They're not really even fans. They're just straight up Canelo haters. They like to say that Kovalev took a dive or that Kovalev was old. What do you think about that Kovalev fight versus Canelo? Do you think there was any foul play? Because remember, Kovalev did come out and make a video saying, if you bet on me, you're the dumb one to bet on me. Like, you know.
Look, I think Canelo going just the fact that he went up to 175 against the world champion, because Kovalev was a world champion at the moment. So you can't take anything away from a world champion. You know, he was the world champion. That means he was beating, light heavyweights. It don't matter the age. He was beating them. I think Canelo did exactly what he had to do. Did he pick the perfect 175 pounder? Yes, because there's a couple more that are probably too big and too strong for Canelo, but he went after the right one. But Kovalev was a world champion. Kovalev at one time he was considered the crusher. He's the mean guy. I think we have to give Canelo credit for just moving up jumping that high in the division just to challenge himself. And maybe he, like I told him, maybe he did go after the right opponent at that moment, but he still did it and still went out to become world champion against a solid world champion.
Now, I think Arthur Beterbiev just turned 35. We've seen him been put down by names that you don't even know, but he had his best fight versus Vazdek, who is now retired after that fight. Do you see Canelo being able to beat a Beterbiev?
Look, I think Canelo's skills are really good. I think Canelo could probably outbox him and make him miss a lot and touch him. I don't think Canelo might be too strong to hurt him. So I think if Canelo fights smart, he could probably pull off a decision. But it is a very risky fight for Canelo because these guys are just too strong, man. I think they're too strong, and Canelo could get hurt and maybe shorten his career. But look, those are the challenges that will make boxing, just bring a lot of attention if he was to take something like that. I personally think I think Canelo could probably outbox him and win that decision, but it would be very, very risky. It definitely will be a very, very risky fight. Just like I don't know if you guys have heard, Pacquiao going to 160 to fight Triple G. It's another one where it would be very, very risky for Pacquiao to even consider that.
But you favor
Look,
Pacquiao,
I think Pacquiao's too fast. Look, Pacquiao's too fast.
I know.
And in and out, his movement, lateral movement. But it is very risky. He could get hurt. And Canelo could get hurt at one.
Triple G's old
enough.
enough.
I think so too. I think so too. But he's still very, very strong. So it's a big risk. It's a big risk for Pacquiao. But look, that's why he's a legend. That's why he's a legend for taking those challenges. And I would love to see that fight. And I think he could pull it off. Honestly, I think he could pull it off. But it would be very, very risky also. But see, that's why he's going to be considered as one of the best in history for taking those challenges.
$1 million question. If he beats Gennady Golovkin, does that trump him historically over Mayweather, even though he lost to Mayweather?
Look, even though he lost to Mayweather 100%, I already think, what he's already done in his career is already in history. None have ever won titles in 8 divisions, and they would definitely be probably I think the best in history. I think this would definitely put him up there.
All right, John Feliciano says Billy Joe versus Lara at 160. Who wins?
Oh God, you know what? I don't even. I'll be honest with you guys. I have to go back and watch videos. I'm not too much of a where I follow neither of them too much. I really don't. I think at 160, I think Billy Joe's just the bigger man, size wise. Lara is not that big of a man. He's not that tall, not that big physically. So I think Billy Joe just on size. But Lara has great skills, but just on size, I think Billy Joe is just going to be the much bigger man.
Robert, I'm sorry I'm making this longer and longer, but you brought up Lara and you love Canelo. At the time when Lara fought Canelo, I wasn't a Canelo fan. Now I'm considered a Canelo fanboy amongst my listeners. But I did think Lara beat Canelo. What about you?
A lot of people did. I was there actually with Mikey, and we thought Canelo won the fight there being live. I never seen it on TV again to see go round by round. But look, it was a few years ago. I think Canelo has developed and has become a very, very talented fighter in the last few fights. He's just improved so much. Earlier in his career, I remember Cotto's brother almost knocked him out, but that doesn't mean, anything. We go back, well then of course, he wasn't the best most talented fighter early in his career. But to become what he's become now and have the defense that he has, and just the overall fighter, I think that's what makes him so good. That he's improved so much. Other fighters, Mayweather was already very, very talented since he turned pro, coming off the Olympics. This kid Canelo wasn't very talented at first, but he started, little by little they started building up his record, and to what he's become now. I think it's unbelievable. I think he's had a great career. He's got great trainers that are doing a great job and improving everything that they need to improve, and they're showing it fight by fight, year by year. He's just getting better and better.
I know that's your contemporary or your, what do you call it, your
go-to
co-worker somehow, but you spoke of development. Are you seeing that coming from Oscar Valdez? He switched trainers now twice. He was with Manny Robles, now with Eddie Reynoso. What are you seeing from Valdez?
Well, look, one thing I do know that Eddie Reynoso, look, one thing I like about when fighters go to Eddie Reynoso is not going to babysit anybody. Look, he already has Canelo and has been making a lot of money out from Canelo. Canelo has been loyal to them since the beginning of his career, so they've made a lot of money with the big contract that Canelo has. So Eddie Reynoso doesn't need to train anybody else. If Eddie Reynoso is willing to train other fighters, it's because they're gonna do what he tells them to do, and they're gonna do everything they're told, or else he wouldn't even bother to take those fighters on. So with that being said, I think they have to train, they have to follow instructions, and I think it's whoever's the Garcia, the Valdez coming to his camp, they know they're gonna go in there for work, and they are gonna improve. I think they all will be getting better. Valdez, got dropped against Lopez and came back to stop him. Maybe an early stoppage. Maybe that wasn't his best performance, with his new trainer. But I think one thing is he will be in great shape. He will be trained right with Eddie Reynoso, because Eddie's not gonna. I don't think he's gonna take anybody's crap just to be part of their team. I think he really makes them work.
All right, Robert, man, thank you so much. We just got one more from our Patreon questions. It's Sway, who says, who had the better overall career between the two future Hall of Famers, Floyd Mayweather or Manny Pacquiao? Which you pretty much touched on it, but if you wanted to just go into it again, I guess.
Honestly, I think Pacquiao. I think to be a division is something we're probably never going to see again. I think 50-0 is great. Great record to retire, but I think we already have somebody that retired at 54-0, so that's already broken. I think a division champion is pretty much impossible. It's very, very hard to see somebody else win titles in a division.
Robert, there is one more that came in late. Apologies. Hopefully you're not too busy. Duke the Great says, I think Crawford could help himself by beating a Laura. Who do you think wins that fight? Laura versus Crawford?
Honestly, I think Crawford. I think Crawford is very talented. He's young, young and hungry to move up and win his fourth division title. So I think Crawford.
All right, well, that's everything. Do want to thank you, obviously, for taking out the time, as always, man. Always appreciate you coming on the show. Good luck with all the fighters, and congratulations, man. You are, really, really busy. Wow. You have a lot of energy, Robert. You got a lot of energy,
all right,
man.
guys, thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, bro.
Thanks, Robert.
All right.
Thanks for having me, guys. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
There you have it, man. Robert Garcia. So, we didn't even really ask him about Vergil too much in terms of the
we
fight.
Did.
I mean, in terms of the fight, but I guess we all figure it's going to be a knockout.
I guess.
Yeah. But let's jump out to the callers and not waste any time. 1-425-569-5241. Press 1 time. Voice tripping right here on the Voice of the People hotline. Don't forget you can add Nestor Gibbs on Skype to be part of the conversation.
Remember to rate us 5 stars on iTunes.
These calls are brought to you by El Camino Electrical Services, experts in electric vehicle charging stations. For consultations and turnkey installation, visit us at elcaminoelectricalservices.com.
All right, I'm gonna go out to Sony. Sony, the commissioner. What's up? Just listening. All right, anyone on Skype just listening because you're at work, let me know so I know who to get to and who not. Going out to Brooklyn, King Born, talk to me.
Hey, yo, y'all hear me? I'm in this mountain in Maryland, you know what I mean? I'm driving a truck. Hey, listen, we know what time it is with Vergil Ortiz. I look at it, it's a mismatch, man. He's going to destroy Samuel Vargas. He's going to destroy him. You know it. That's why Robert Ortiz didn't even want to talk about it. That's why Robert Garcia didn't even want to talk about that much. He's going to, I don't see him going past 6 rounds, man. But what's up with Jerome Boots Ennis? Where my man at? You know, that's what I want to see. I want to see Ennis versus Ortiz. Can they get that going? And like I said, and let the Vergil Ortiz sleep Sammy Vargas. Let's see him in the ring with maybe like Ungas. I think that would be a good fight, y'all. Ungas or Sean Porter. You know, maybe could be Eliminator. Who knows? You know what I mean? But that'd be a good fight.
Cut it. Caesar, Las Vegas, talk to me. Caesar,
yo.
What up?
You hear me?
Yes.
Sorry about the background noise. Yo, great interview, guys. Great interview, man. That's my all-time favorite trainer right there. Damn, what can I say? I think Vergil's gonna do damage at 147. Man, I really have high hopes for that kid. He's actually my favorite up-and-coming fighter. I don't know, man. I think he's gonna do work with the top guys. I can't wait to see him step up the level of competition. I don't think Vargas is gonna do much. He is gonna be able to do much with him. I think he's on top of just having power. He's just a super smart guy. You can tell he has a good ring IQ. But that's all I got, man. It's too loud over here. Great show, guys.
All right, Ken Stone just showing love on the super chat. Thank you for that. We're going out to Lids Low, Decatur, Georgia. Talk to me.
Hey, fella. And shout out to Baldwin. What's that about it? Hey, great interview. Love Robert Garcia, man. I put him up there high with, far as intelligence for the sport, you know what I mean, with Gary Russell and Lou DiBella. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna form my own commission for boxing, you hear me? But, Vargas Jerome Ennis talk, though, hey, man, that thing sound right there. Now, that's a fight, y'all. So, hey, I think we should push that on the show, you know what I mean? But shout out to everybody. Vergil Ortiz, I'm going to get him to win, too, by the way. That boy nasty. But that's me. I'm out.
All right. Well, thanks for calling in. We going to Brandon in Cincinnati. Real quick, we got another super chat from Ken Stone. It says, Jester and Shane Mosley Jr. confirmed for the undercard. Thoughts? Yeah, I just sent Mario a link of Jesta and whatever Robert said already being announced.
It was Jesta and Hector Tanahara are fighting, and Mosley Jr. is making his Golden Boy debut on the undercard of that as well. I thought we got that one, man, because I had heard those two being matched, their names, after Ryan fell through, because Jesta was part of that conversation as well. But I didn't see nothing official. And then you found it. And I'm glad you found it. I had started writing that article the moment I heard him say that. and then you sent it to me. I was like, damn.
Yeah, I didn't hear about it. I mean,
Me neither.
You know, and that's lack of promotion. But you know, luckily he was accessible. We were able to get him on. He was able to say it, and you know, we found the DesertSun.com was the one to report it. I wonder where the hell the Desert Sun is. Is it
they get a lot of Golden Boy stuff too. I've seen it before.
Okay. Let me go back to Brandon in Cincinnati. Sorry about that, champ. What it do?
No, you good. You good. Yeah, man, I got this one ending whenever Vergil feels like ending it. You know, if he can play around with him for a few rounds, get some rust off. He can end it in one round if he wants to. It just depends on what Vergil wants to do. Man, loud.
Start over, Brandon. Sorry, that was NO joining the call, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah. I think Vergil ends this fight whenever he feels like it. If he wants to play around and get some rounds to get some rust off, he can do that. If he wants to get him out in like 3 rounds, he can do that. I think, you know, Samuel Vargas' slugging days are, you know, coming to an end, kind of like Mauricio Herrera was when he fought Vergil. I mean, I think the fight to be made is right there in the Golden Boy wings, man. Vergil versus Rashidi Ellis. I mean, I would like to see that fight.
We spoke to Robert Diaz, the matchmaker. Ellis is recovering. Remember, that's why that ain't happened yet.
Yeah, that's true. But another fight, you know, maybe step him up to like a Ray Robinson, Anthony Juice Young, somebody in that range. You know, somebody that ain't gonna lay down. You know, awkward guys.
I don't know. They gonna put him in there with Juice after. I mean, unless Juice coming off a longer layoff than he already is. But remember, he upset the apple cart on Golden Boy already. That wasn't supposed to happen with Saddam Ali.
Yeah, those would be some good fights. But yeah, as far as this one, Vergil's gonna kind of do what he did against Mauricio, get him out of there pretty quick. That's my call.
All right. Thanks for calling in. We going out to remember, if you're just listening, let me know. Let me go out to my Jimbe. Talk to me.
Great interview, guys. Yeah, I don't know, man. Robert made a great point. I'm starting to think that Manny maybe did have a better career than Floyd. But yeah, on Vergil, you know, again, yeah, I think he stops this fight whenever he wants. Dream fight in the future would definitely be for me, Vergil and Teofimo after Teofimo. I think that those two will be a banger for sure. Keep up the great work, guys.
All right, brother. Thank you, obviously, for the kind words. Let me see. Looks like we got Mario. Check Skype, please. Looks like who else is up? King Amin. What it do?
Just like the king is what I mean. The king is what I mean.
All right, he at work. Okay, so that means.
Oh, wait.
What up, champ?
No, I was going to tell you, but I didn't know if you were going to somebody else before.
Yeah, I was gonna try. And no, you ready? New Orleans, the Nolia. All right, looks like he's ready. We're gonna go out to NL in the New Orleans.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you a young fella, and he comes from the Magnolia.
Ooh. Check this out. I'm an audio sound.
You decent.
I'm in this at this car wash right now, getting one of my truck was. You did, but I heard the interview, bro, and I like Robert. I like him a lot, bro. He's a good trainer. Teaches good fundamental skills, defense, a nice jab, solid foundation. But that comment he made about Boots not being nowhere near on this man level, bro. I mean, that's preposterous, man. And you let that man get that off next, bro.
Say, bro, that was tuned there, Jai. He's one of them. You'd have cut them off and got their mind right.
Why? Boots ain't fight nobody on the level of Brad Solomon, Mauricio Herrera, or Samuel Vargas. I said that already. I agree with him. Y'all going off eye tests, just like y'all do with a lot of fighters. I don't do eye tests. I do fight them.
All right, so who this dude is? This dude he fight now, like this
Samuel
dude, like
Vargas. Samuel Vargas.
Who he be? Tell me who he be.
It's who he been in with. It's who he been in with. It's who he been
So
in with. Boots ain't been in with nobody that's been in with nobody. So that's just the bottom line. Like, you could get mad all you want. That's just the truth, though. I'd rather listen to me. I'd rather you lose to someone great, good, very good, super decent, than lose to someone that nobody know, then have my top prospect come beat the brakes off you. No. He's beating quality opponents. Brad Solomon is quality. Mauricio Herrera is quality, and Samuel Vargas is quality. You can't even give me one quality name on Boots' resume, not one. And that's not Boots' fault. That's, it's his promoter. He with Cameron Duncan. He gonna have to wait it out. I seen him say, I'll fight Ugas. He'll fight everybody. But until he do, he ain't on Vargas level. I mean, he ain't on Ortiz level.
You support him ducking Boots then to fight this other cat.
Who?
You support him.
Ducking Boots? Bro,
he said no way on his level, man. What he said?
I know. I done gave you 2 minutes, but let me tell you how he ain't ducking Boots. First of all, you need to take to social media and tell Boots, yo, I'm out here capping for you, okay? I'm out here capping, saying people ducking you. Meanwhile, you telling people who want to fight you, call Showtime. Do that sound like a fighter that's ready to fight Vergil, who's on Dazn? Call Showtime? Come on, bro, stop. Like, my man ain't even get to that. He ain't fought. At least Vergil gonna have a third name on it. My man ain't even fought a name yet. He already telling you to call his network. Bruh, man, you know what? Call me when he fights somebody so I could go watch it. Who next?
You saw who that was? You see the name, right? I put it in there.
Jermaine in New Jersey, what up?
Yo, what up 3 times, fellas? I was the one who dropped the Law versus Crawford fight. Y'all can answer what y'all think about that fight as far as, just moving things forward for Crawford. The Manny Pacquiao Floyd idea, it's a little tough for me. I think Manny beating Thurman just showed that Thurman never had a shot versus Floyd. You can take that one next. Boots and Ortiz, they can fight early. I feel like that fight could happen again later down the line when this upper echelon moves on. They could probably fight for a belt or two. Yeah, that's my call.
All right, that's what? Duke the Great. Shout out Duke the Great. Thank you for being a Patreon champ. He said that was his idea, the Laura fight.
Yeah, that was his question. He said, yeah.
Ruin in 504 New Orleans. What up?
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
What up, brother?
Hey, man. Good interview. Good work you guys are doing lately. The Patreon content has been really good this whole pandemic. So just thank you guys. That's it.
Thank you, champ. Thank you. And thank you for putting in your questions. I've seen you being active, obviously, on all the Yaks questions.
Definitely. Great questions, Rue. You've been, for real, coming through.
All right. That is, I believe, everyone. Majimba, obviously, you have a boomerang if you want to activate. Give me a flash. If not, we out of here. Today's what? Tuesday. So there should be fights.
Oh, man. I meant to check the fight schedule.
There are fights.
I know, but the time, though. The time.
8 p.m., I bet. That's how they do us.
There's fights today.
An hour earlier.
So
hey, yo, what's the over-under? Damn, somebody call I Pick Wins to see what's the over-under on Doomy being here for the live fight chat.
Damn.
What's the over-under?
Like, yo, I can't find this, man. I swear to ESPN.
I'm about to find it on my TV because it all
Oh
depends.
yeah, look on your TV.
It all
'cause the
depends what
TV's
time they
better.
doing it. ESPN. It all
Word.
depends what time they doing it, bruh. I love this little remote. They gonna get me for my
Okay,
money
but get
for a long time.
what time is cool? From anywhere from 8 Eastern.
8 p.m.
Before?
I'm rocking out. If they start talking that 11:30 shit, I'm out.
Yeah,
Nah, I don't think it's gonna be that late.
8 p.m. it says boxing. Let me see. Boxing. Salcido versus Fredrickson. Yo, I looked up Fredrickson. I watched him fight.
Oh man,
What?
I found it.
What?
Oh, never mind. That's the weigh-in. It said 9:45. I was like, damn. Nope. But that's the weigh-in.
Nope.
Good one. That's Doomy. I know that's Doomy.
Yeah, that's Doomy. He going to work over there on the sound, but I
can
love it
tell
though.
Doomy-
I love it.
I'm starting to learn. Yeah, I'm starting to learn Doomy's
his swag,
soundboard swag. You know what I'm saying? Like his I know his comedy. I know Ness's like.
Yo, so Samuel Teal from Philly beat him, but Samuel Teal, I believe, lost to my man Montana Love, if I ain't mistaken. Right?
Yo, Salceda Fredrickson is at 7 p.m. Central, so 8 p.m. Eastern.
Banging.
Yo, Pedraza's gonna be good on Thursday.
Montana did beat Samuel Teal, so you know, Fredrickson. Look, I mean, we know his manager Mike Leonardi, but at the end of the day, he's coming off a loss, and that was last year in November to Samuel Teal. You know, and now he's about to get in there with Salcido, who's a dog. You know,
Salcido I think Salcido went on there. I think I got something from Twitter where he said that he's not gonna expect the power that he's bringing.
Salcido's all right, but who was it that really put a beating on him? Ramirez or who? Somebody put a beating on Salcido.
On Salcido?
Yeah, let me double check here. Maurice Hooker did that. Yeah. It was good. It was a good fight, but he did stop him.
I got it twisted. It was Fredrickson who said, "I'll shock Salcido with my power. I'll be able to stop him."
Oh wow. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's got to say what he's got to say. He's coming off a loss. You feel me? But Salcido's only coming off of a Rod Salka win, famously known for being knocked out by Danny. Salcido knocked him out as well. You know, but before that, he was knocked out himself by Maurice Hooker. Salcido's last fight was also in November, so they both coming off, you know, the same amount of layoff. The card does start at 8 p.m. We're definitely going to do it as long as Doomy doesn't.
It's only 4 fights.
As long as Doomy don't flaky flake like Frosted Flakes. Yo, that's GTO, Instagram and Twitter. Catch us on the next one. Peace.
Peace. I'm Martin McGee on Twitter. I'm Martin McGee on Instagram. Peace.
Hasta la próxima. Alex_Doomsday_LAINEZ, TikTok, IG, Twitter, AlexInusTBB. Hit that notification bell. If you don't know, it's because you ain't hit the button. Hit that button, and you know we always appreciate the subscription. So please subscribe if you're on the YouTube fam. Hit the thumbs up button. You know, if you ain't donating, you know, a simple thumbs up goes a long way. Trust me, that, and we do appreciate those as well. If you're looking over to maybe come join the Patreon family and get the exclusive stuff we do over there, like Untitled, Boxing Bars, and a bunch of other stuff that we're doing over there on the Patreon side of stuff. So come join us, man. $3, $5, $15. Get that pizza pie, man. We guarantee you stay with us. Cheers.
All right. Peace. Peace.
Peace.